Okay, hi, Chris. I have looked through your draft and I will now talk you through your work that needs to be done. Your form is pretty good. Just explain why you say it would be a tabloid rather than a broadsheet. Purpose. Yes, the purpose is to buy the product and remember the product. Just start looking at the way that you're expressing yourself. You can just change this to both advertisements share the similar purpose of persuading their target audience to be able to remember the product and to create a desire to buy the product. Now, here you say the filet fish informs. Remember, everything they do is persuasive. We are looking at the conventions of visual persuasion and language of persuasion. So remember that you must keep throughout your analysis, whenever you're saying this, it's a persuasion. Both advertisements have the same emotional impact on the viewers. However, the way the impact acts on them is different. Well, then it's not the same emotional impact. So what you're saying is they both aim to create an emotional connection or to build a particular desire or interest in their product or service, but they are doing it in different ways. The mobile app achieves this through simplicity of the ad, yes, which is the simplicity of the ad, I think, is highlighting or echoing the simplicity of the product, which is the mobile app. So I think you need to make it clear here that the app is it's an actual product. We need to download the app in order to improve the service. The fillet of fish is an actual product within the service that they are providing, because it's the restaurant. Now, you do this throughout. You keep saying you. Don't say you. I've crossed it out. If I haven't, you need to then go through and edit. Replace it with the target audience or the consumer throughout. Okay, target audience. Just a little bit general here. You sound like me complaining about my children always being on their phones. The ad targets the younger generations as they are always on their phones. I think what you're trying to say here, the ad is targeting the social media savvy younger generation who are the highest users of smartphone apps. Yes, not limited to existing, I think would be a better word than reoccurring. App, simple and quick, yes. Ad targets females who do not have the time to prepare a good meal for their families. Well, I think it's not just that. I think this isn't aimed at a generation who don't have time, because it was, as you talk about the social context, this is a time when, in general, the role of the female was to be at home and provide the role of a housewife, which includes cooking. I think what they're trying to say here is it's not about not having the time to prepare a meal. It's actually trying to create a desire to go out and enjoy a meal that is as good as one that has been cooked at home. And I think we need to be careful as well, because the women were the ones who stayed at home, it was the men who held the purse strings. Yes, I know, Chris. It's a good job we live in a less unequal society now, isn't it? So you have to think, looking at the advertisement, it is an idea that women can go, but bear in mind that they were probably dependent on the men. So I think it's aimed at men and women, and it seems to be perhaps for a family out or a couple going out. It's certainly not what McDonald's is now, where everyone could pop in with friends or family, or you would just pop in on your way home from school or drive through. It was much more of an event to go to a restaurant in those days. So just have a little, make that clear here. And again, you've said you here. The slogan uses you. You do not. Social context, yes, bit of editing here, 50 after each other, 50 what? I think years. Mobile app allows the user to order and pay for their meal easier and quicker. The mobile app, well, that's what the implication is. But I think what you need to make clear is that this was released recently and is reflecting the huge advances in technology that have taken place over the past 50 years. This is not... So the fillet of fish was at a time, as you say, 1968, at a time when the roles, not the purpose, their purpose was the same as it is now, but the roles that were ascribed to them by society was more the role of a housewife, and males expected dinner ready for them when they came home from work. Shocking. But what I think you need to show is that the social context of these two advertisements show the enormous changes and developments that have taken place in the past 50 years, from the very first McDonald's restaurants that opened to now being in proliferation everywhere in the world, and very much an everyday occurrence. Fast food has taken over a huge segment of society. It's not the once in a blue moon thing that it was back in the late 1960s. That's what I think you need to make clear. Plus the different social, the technology. The app obviously is reflecting the huge advances that have taken place in technology, in that now we are in the instant gratification world of smartphone apps. As you say, you don't even have time to stand in a queue. You want to be able to order it on your app as you're walking through the park and swan in and pick it up. So I like what you said about the Roman Catholics. That was well researched. So the rest of that is fine. Now, visual elements. This should say, not effects, visual elements. Now, yeah, your visual elements. I think you need to just look at the structure of this section, Chris. And you need to be introducing a lot more technical language here. You need to be analyzing 3 to 4 visual elements. You need to go back to the Elements of Visual Language handout, and you need to introduce the visual elements using the correct technical language. So the McDonald's, for example, when you're talking here about using a large mobile phone, what it's doing is this is foreground and background. It's also layout and graphics. So what you say is that the creative directors of the McDonald's mobile app use layout and graphics in that they have specifically foregrounded the picture of the mobile phone with the app clearly visible. Similarly, the fillet of fish ad has placed the product in the center of the advertisement. Its use of a close-up, its point of view, and therefore the product that it is selling is clearly visible. You can't look at that ad and not know that it's advertising some kind of a burger. So you need to be using that technical language. Have another look at the advertisements that are attached to that handout, which have the examples of technical information and how to explain it. So you're quite right with the mobile app that the app is clearly visible. It is an overhead shot. It's a close-up shot. It's an overhead angle and a close-up shot, slightly below eye level. And this has the effect of highlighting exactly what the app looks like and the ease and simplicity of it to a very app-aware target audience. That's the way you need to be analyzing the visual elements here, Chris. So you need to go through. So when you say the ad uses the colors yellow and white, again, the technical name for that is lighting and color. So you say the creators of the mobile app ad have used lighting and color in order to convey the simplicity and the ease of their product. So you need to go through this, and you're going, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oops, I will change that, undo. So when you say in their writing, well, it's not writing. You're right, it's the tagline. So just cut things like that out. When you say it ties in with the background of the ad, so what is the setting, the background? So in the foreground you have the app, and in the background you have the park, which is implied by the blurred green background. It's probably not. It's just in a studio, but that's the impression that it is giving. You're going to need to look at you talk a bit about the font, but the fact that it's all uppercase. What's this sort of banner? It's quite a creative style. Is a walk in the park, but what mood is this creating? It seems to be one of youth and fun, and yet it's a very well designed, very clear app. That's what you need to be doing here. And as I said, 3 to 4 of these elements. Similarly, the fillet-o-fish ad achieves the emotional response. Well, you need to say is using a range of visual elements to fulfill its purpose, which is to persuade its target audience to come to a McDonald's for dinner rather than staying at home and cooking it. And then look at how they've done this. They foreground. We talked about this. You do talk about the sea, but you have to use the technical information, the technical words. Okay, so work to be done there, Chris. Same with the language features. You analyze that fairly well. Now, but we do it all for you. You is direct address. It's a persuasive technique. So just make sure that you probably need to do a little bit more work on the language features here, Chris. And again, your conclusion is too general. When you evaluate, you have to decide which do you think is the most effective. It might be a little bit repetitive, but you might just pick out, well, which one do you think is the most effective? Probably for you, it would be the app, and you can refer to it's a very clever ad in its deceptive simplicity, but it definitely targets it fulfills the purpose because it is so clear and easy to see and read and would attract its target audience. But just a short evaluation is needed there. Okay, Chris, I hope this helps, and happy drafting.